Hello everyone, welcome to a one-off video here on the Bonus Points. Today, Ollie and I are going to be looking back through the history of Game of the Year winners, excluding this year's winner, because we recorded this before this year's winner, so we don't know who it is. So should we say like every variant, and then we can just add in which one's right?
I was thinking that, and I was also thinking, who do you think's going to win?
I think Baldur's Gate 3. Like, pretty confidently, I think Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I'm side between Baldur's Gate and Zelda. I'd like it to be Alan Wake, but I don't think he's got a chance.
No, I think recency bias may have kind of increased old Alan's chances, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 is the one. And I've not played Baldur's Gate 3 either as Ollie, so it kind of is nice we're not doing that. And then also, we're doing the last 20 years of Game of the Year, which is just nice because it's around number 20. But to clarify, the first half of them, or the recent ones, are all from the Game Awards, or Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, whatever it is. And then before that, it was like the Spike TV Game Awards, which is kind of the same thing, still Jeff Keighley, but obviously it kind of transitioned over at some point. But we had to pick a list from somewhere, so we thought might as well go with that one.
Might as well follow Jeff. We're following Jeff through this complicated mess.
And it was nice that there was 20. So basically, Ollie and I are going to go through. We need to, like our main list on our podcast, we have to be unanimous and we have to kind of agree on a top 20. But also like that, we're not trying to rank them in like the best games. These are our personal picks. So there's games that we might be able to appreciate as this is an amazing game. If we didn't like it, it ain't going to end up high on the list.
I mean, it helps that one of the best games ever made is on there. So it's obviously going to be our top rated and the best game ever made. So,
okay, are you talking about Resident Evil 4?
Maybe.
Okay, so shall we just take turns very quickly to go back and forth and put games in a loose idea where we think they might end up? Yeah. And if the spot's taken where I think they will end up, we won't switch them. We'll just place them in, and then we'll have like a draft, and then we can go in, try and switch it around. Do you think that's a good way to do this?
So we're just going to go for it, basically.
Yeah. So you just drag Resident Evil 4 on top, and then that discussion will come later on.
Okay. Where is it? Oh, I see you've moved everything around a bit. You've moved them slightly out of order.
Yeah. So these are all of the in the top left here. Are all of like the recent releases, and then you can kind of see through time. So I'm going to go just to fight here because that's where the fight's going to happen. I'm going to put Elden Ring at number 2
do you want
for now.
Can we go any number, any order, or do we have to go 1 to?
Yeah, just pick a game and just throw them on there.
I'm sorry, Americans, but your NFL game is going to be at the bottom. Me and Joe have no idea what that is. So
there'll be no conversation there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do Breath of the Wild. I'm going to focus on getting at least my ones high up early on.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Overwatch then.
Okay. And
don't forget, that's Overwatch, not Overwatch 2. That's Overwatch. Singular.
Yeah. That will end up higher than Overwatch 2 would have. Let's do Dragon Age Inquisition. I think it's going to end up around 17-ish, maybe. Okay. I think you haven't played it, if I'm right.
It's the only game, except for the NFL game, that I've not played. Although I've only played about 10 minutes of Sekiro. I've still played it.
Yeah, I think Madden's the only one I've not played, to be fair.
Okay, all right. In that case, where is The Walking Dead? I saw that earlier on. Oh, it's there. About there, I think. That's The Walking Dead Telltale, right?
Yep, okay, that is correct. Cool that got Game of the Year.
Yeah.
I can't remember that.
Well, you were 21. No, you were 22. Tender age of 22 when that came out.
A little baby. I was probably doing Let's Plays of it.
Yeah.
I wondered because I guess that was the whole season 1. I was playing through that on my YouTube channel.
Very nice. Okay. It's getting more difficult now. These are games I'm less familiar with. I think It Takes Two is actually quite overrated, so I'm going to put it down like here.
Did you finish that in the end?
No. I got quite far, but it got too hard for my co-op partner, which is why I think it's a bit overrated.
Yeah, that might end up being another debate. Oh, actually, have you played The Witcher 3?
I've played about an hour of it, and it was okay.
Okay, this will be... I'm sensing where the conversations will be. So I'm going to put... So once again, I'm putting where I think it will end up, not where I would personally put it, but I think it might... I say 11, I think, for Witcher 3, just judging by what I'm getting off you.
Okay, well, Bioshock will have to go up high because you always get your own way. So let's put that like 9, I guess.
Okay, let's tackle one of the GTAs. I'm not sure which way round you go, and no spoilers. We'll get to that later. But I'm going to assume that 5. I'm going to think 5 will end up at 10. Oh no, that's 4.
That's
sorry,
4.
isn't it?
That's 4.
Yeah,
that's 5.
Sorry, yeah, there's 5.
Confused yourself with the Roman numerals.
I did.
Okay, we've also got 2 Elder Scrolls. Oh, I've not played Oblivion, so there's another game I haven't played. But as far as I know, it's pretty bad, Skyrim, and we didn't love Skyrim, so...
Yeah, it's weird because I have more nostalgia for Oblivion than Skyrim, but let's put them together because I think they will end up they'll end up within the same sort of space.
Yeah. Okay. San Andreas. See, I have not played it since it came out, but I do remember liking it a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely a time and place one. I bet that's pretty rough to go back to, but I also have very fond memories of playing pool in the bar, listening to Ozzy Osbourne in that game. That's my main thing I did, and then riding around on the motorbikes and just jumping off things. That was the way I played that game. Uncharted 2 is right. I guess there's a nice slot at number 6 for Uncharted 2, so I think that's going to be a high up one.
That will be a high one. It's getting tricky now. Red Dead is another game I've only played about half an hour of.
Oh, really?
So I'm just going to put it here. I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, we can. I think now maybe it's getting a bit tough because I think there's. Well, let's say I'm going to say God of War will be at 16, so I don't think that's going to get up too high. So that's the original of like the new God of Wars, not Ragnarok. And then I guess we could put GTA just here, but then Sekiro I think isn't going to go here. But I guess just to make it tidy, we'll put that in there.
Okay. Well, my first thought is that Uncharted 2 probably needs to go up. Looking at that top selection, I would put Uncharted 2 probably over Overwatch and The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe there is a bit of time and place there, but in 2009, Uncharted 2, sorry, like in 2009, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'll let you have it there for now. So I do have both Overwatch and Last of Us Part 2 on my top games of all time lists, which Uncharted 2 didn't feature, but I'm planning where to dig my heels in.
I had Uncharted 2 on mine, so...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm not going to fight you there. Maybe let's work out. So this part, I think maybe I'd put both Elder Scrolls above Dragon Age.
Okay.
Personally.
I'd say from 17 downwards, I have no opinion. So
so I can just
down there.
So I'm going to put Oblivion above Skyrim.
Yeah.
Not because I necessarily think it's better, but just from when I played it, it kind of like it was more amazing in the time. And despite completing Skyrim and never seeing the credits of Oblivion, I put a lot more time into Oblivion playing that back in the day. I also had a friend I was playing with, and we were kind of like doing quests together. And there was a lot of the ones where you could make a decision to betray someone or not. And I think that has kind of really given me fond memories of playing that game. I would like It Takes Two to move up a little bit as well.
I just don't know if it's like outside of the platforming being fun. I don't know if it is actually that good.
So one of the things with It Takes Two, and what because I do think it's I don't think it's like a masterpiece or perfect game or anything, but I think the fact that there's so few games like it, where it's a co-op game where you're both kind of doing different tasks to help each other out, and then like the mini games where you go and face off against each other. I think for me, I was playing through it with Kai, who obviously plays a lot of games. So, we were kind of doing pretty similar for a lot of the games. And it was just such an amazing experience. That and like A Way Out, which is once again another kind of flawed game, but like there's not really anyone else making games like that to that scale, because it's a huge game as well. It's so long.
Yeah, like, it's very long. Yeah.
Like if Nintendo were also making games like it and we were comparing it to them, maybe it wouldn't look so good, but they kind of don't have any competition. And that's why I kind of think it's a little bit special.
Yeah. The thing with It Takes Two for me is that what it's positioned as and what it actually is are quite different. Like the husband and wife story kind of makes you want to play it with like your partner, and 9 times out of 10 they're not going to be as good as you, but it kind of expects the skill level to be equal of both of you, and it tripped us up so many times. And there's so many memes online of like, oh, me playing It Takes Two, and it's just like the one of the characters just falling, and then the other character just standing at the
waiting.
end. Like,
yeah,
and that's what my gameplay was like. Just, and
I
also,
mean, that did happen to us a little bit as well.
And also, I don't know if the story of It Takes Two, I feel like it really misses the mark, like quite severely.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite bad. Like, it's not like, oh, it's okay. It's like, it's actively bad.
So we made fun of it a lot because there's like the little girl character and there's just a line in it where she says something about like, I've got to get some butter or something. Yeah. And we made us laugh so we kept saying about like, oh, I'm going to rub butter on my face. And we just kept making fun of it so much. And then Kai and I, we always design escape rooms for each other. And one of them had me like having to reach through butter to get like a solution. So like, I will take the hit for the story. I don't think it's the best. I think there's some cool moments, like the elephant moment I thought was like genuinely really funny, if you remember that. Should we leave it? Can we leave it loitering for now? And
I think it can go up a bit. I just don't think it's top 10.
Okay, let's put it. Let's just for now throw everything else down a bit.
Yeah,
and then slide it in at 11.
I don't think it can hang with like Overwatch, Last of Us Part 2.
No, that's true. I mean, these are all, pretty great games because these are all ones that won Game of the Year.
Yeah, I also think God of War 2018 should move up quite significantly.
Did you finish that? I
did, yeah. I liked it a lot, which made not liking the second one much worse. But the first one I really liked.
Because I'm the same in that I enjoyed it more than Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But why so, what's the big difference between the two for you?
I found the first one to be a lot more like propulsive, a lot better at pulling you forward, not getting you distracted with side things. And also, I guess at that point it was new as well.
Yeah.
So that was quite a big thing. I finished it. I played it like, I was really into it. I didn't do any of the extra stuff after the credits, but it was super cool. And then Ragnarok felt too big and too time consuming, and it kind of felt like a chore compared to God of War 1's pace. So, but I would say God of War 1 could easily be a top 10, maybe 8 or 9, maybe even higher than that.
Well, do you want to kind of arrange it how you think you would want it?
So I think God of War 1, you could easily go above BioShock. Probably even go above Walking Dead. Probably around 6, 7. And then just for now, I'm just going to throw 5 in there because there's a gap. But I don't think 5 should go there.
Do you think San Andreas is going to hang in top 10 for our personal choices?
I think
like
for nostalgia
influence of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I finished San Andreas. I didn't finish GTA 5. So, but then again, when San Andreas came out, I was 13, so I had unlimited time. Like, whereas when GTA 5 came out, I just got my first full-time job, I think. So that was zero time.
I think there's something just cool of just how ridiculously ambitious it was for like the PS2. In fact, there's like 3 cities and all of like this rural land in between them. Like it felt like a generation leap within the same generation of consoles.
But there is 2 things in it that will make it difficult to go back to. One of them is that the shooting is terrible. It's lock on. You have to lock onto the enemies. And also it's really ugly now. It has not aged well. It's like barren. So maybe it could move down. It could move down.
And the frame rate was never like that great anyway. And then also they like were putting in like RPG elements. Remember you had to like work out and it'd be like, if you swim underwater a lot, your lung capacity goes up. And it was stuff that like at the time was really cool. But like it wouldn't be fun, I don't think, today.
No, my guy was always maximum buff. Like he was the biggest guy you could possibly be at all times. Yeah. And he never wore a shirt. That was my
I think it was kind of just like button mashing, like mini games to do the working out.
I used to cycle to the gym every day and work out to make sure that I was always at the maximum buff size.
God, if only we lived real life like we did in San Andreas. I mean, like, we're putting the time in. Okay, can I just do a direct switch with Sekiro, because Sekiro is going to have to move up at some point.
Yeah.
So I think this might be a time to fit that in. So if I put Sekiro there, then San Andreas here. Obviously, you're not saying it's his final place.
Yeah,
that's a way to do this tidy.
Okay. This is quite difficult for me because there's a lot of mainstream games on here and I'm a bit of a weirdo and I don't play a lot of mainstream games. So like Red Dead, 20 minutes, GTA 5, probably an hour and a bit. Like,
yeah, look, we got like a Rockstar little group here.
I don't
We do
like.
like
I don't like Rockstar games that much. Can I just say that? Like, everyone loves them. I don't think they're that good. Like, I find them like they're too big, they're too annoying, and then I don't like making my own fun. Like, I've paid 60 quid for the game. Make the fun for me.
The most fun I think I've seen you playing a Rockstar game was that table tennis game, which was basically like a tech test. Is that your favorite Rockstar game?
State of Emergency.
Oh, State of Emergency.
State of Emergency. There you
published that. So let's assume these are going to stay as a group then. Let's just get these in the right order. So I would, out of those four, I think I would put GTA 5 at the top for my personal favorite. I think it's the most interesting. It's the easiest one to go back to today. Like, and this is ignoring any online stuff, just the story. And once again, it felt like, compared to GTA 4, it felt like a generation leap within a generation. Like, people keep showing off like the quick switching in like Spider-Man switching between characters, and like GTA 5 were like almost there on the 360.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing
for what it's
achievement.
worth, if I went to play any of those games today, I would probably play GTA 4 because I remember liking the vibe of that one quite a lot.
It had a good vibe, like San Andreas. If you went to play it on the 360, it looks kind of gross. It looks a bit like smeary.
It had that cool like off-center camera when you were driving there. Do you remember that? Where like Nico would be centered, so your camera would be like over half the car. So your car's sort of off to the side.
I can't remember that.
Oh,
I remember what the driving was like. It was like super like physicsy based. Different. Like, I quite enjoyed it. And like, I had fond memories of that. I remember going around with like my friend, because it came out when I was in college, and I was trying to track down a copy of it. I can't remember if it was the same for you, but like we just couldn't get a copy of it. It was like sold out everywhere. And that's the only game I've like gone around town. Like, have you got it? Have you got it? Like, have you got the golden tickets? Like,
me and you used to play. We used to play it online. GTA 4.
Did we play online?
We played it on, mate. This is where the story. I must have told this on bonus points before. But the Y button story.
Oh, of course.
I'll quickly tell it again for anyone that may. I never told it, but basically, me and Joe used to go into racing lobbies on GTA 4 and then go into the public chat of the whole lobby and be like, oh, you're going to use the Y button trick at the beginning. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, you press Y as soon as it says go, right? And then we'd be like, oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, you do that and you get a boost. And then we'd sit there and then it would say like 3, 2, 1, go. And as soon as the race starts, everyone else in the lobby would get out of their cars and we would just drive off because it was the like get out button. And we used to do it so much. That is a fond memory for me. That's like, I tell people about that all the time.
The multiplayer was generally pretty rubbish. Like any of like the deathmatchy stuff was, because it's that lock-on aiming again.
Yeah.
So Red Dead, I played all of that. But I played it quite late, so maybe it would have been more impressive at the time. I also didn't like Red Dead 2, which is kind of surprising that that's not showing up here. So how about GTA? What about 5 San Andreas for Red Dead?
I'd actually go 5 for San Andreas Red Dead.
Yeah,
we just talked about how much fun we had with GTA.
Yeah, maybe just for that moment's probably my fondest memory of any GTA game. So maybe.
Also, what makes that even funnier is the fact that it came out in 2008. So we were like 15, 16. So we were probably like really annoying on mic as well. So that makes it funny. We were the sort of person now that I'd be like, oh, shut up. Like, mute.
Yeah, absolutely. And then above both Elder Scrolls, would we put them above all of the Elder Scrolls?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Dragon Age down there. So I loved. So if this was the original Dragon Age, I would be fighting to get that higher. I loved the first one, Origins. Never played the second. Tried Inquisition, and it felt like maybe it gets better later on.
Yeah,
but it felt like it put me in a hub area with loads of side quests and like loads of like meaningless stuff. And I was going through my checklist and got bored very, very quickly. And it was, if there is the great moments with really smart dialogue and multiple ways to do quests, which is the reason I was there for, I'm sure that's in there. Yeah. It gave me too much cotton wool to push through to get to it I lost interest.
I think, do you remember it has the the smoke in the new Counter-Strike that like reacts to.
Oh yeah, like
I think that's in Dragon Age Inquisition as well. That's the only thing I can remember about it is that it has this.
Yeah, see, I mainly use flashbang grenades, not smoke grenades in it. So yeah, I probably didn't notice it as much.
Checking the corners,
like demons, like
Okay. I also think Bioshock 2 needs to move down. And
so it's Bioshock 1.
Bioshock 1, sorry.
Remember, Bioshock 1. So the better Bioshock,
it's
probably
still,
the best Bioshock.
It's still lame. It's still lame. So it still needs to move down. The amount of times we've talked about Bioshock and we've ended with you being like, oh yeah, it's actually quite lame. Like, have you not changed your opinion on it?
Bioshock 2. I remember playing I remember with our friend Joe, not Joe James, Joe Dunn, another one of our friends. I remember like being around his house when it arrived. He had like ordered it, and we all like gathered around at like his dad's house to like play it, and like how excited we are. Like I want to talk to that Ollie, not this current jaded Ollie.
Yeah, no, I'm not jaded, mate. It's just lame. Like, look, if we're talking about like back then San Andreas used to go up. You can't have it both ways.
I don't think Bioshock 1's aged like that. Like, it still controls fine, and it still looks good.
Are you going to kill the little girl, or are you going to save her?
Okay, yeah, that's a balancing issue, because like saving them is like as good as killing them. Like, why would you ever do one over the other?
It's a bit more than a balancing issue. It's not like, oh, the shotgun's too powerful. It's like the main part of the game, and it's just silly.
Yeah, and Ken Levine has in the interviews after saying that apparently they last minute kind of changed it and it kind of messed it up a bit.
He'd move it down. Ken Levine would move it down. And also like the last boss, and it's like, oh, it's just the end, but it's the bit everyone remembers, and it's lame.
Yeah,
and like the best bit
the
of the game
is people point to for bad final
the best
bosses.
bit of the game is that like, oh, would you kindly, and that's like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that is one of the best moments in gaming of all time, but I guess there is a lot.
You have
of
to wade through the rest of the game to get there, though. It's not.
Good choice of words there.
Thank you.
Okay, well, to be fair, because if it's me then moving up, It Takes Two or Witcher 3, which I really like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Witcher 3, I played, and I was like, I can see why this is good, but it's just not for me. But I preferred it to other open world things, but I just don't like open world games, so.
Yeah, it's just the writing is so good in it. Like, because it has a lot of the things that I don't like in open world games, but like the quests and all the side quests were just written so good that I was up for it, because I wanted to see what it was going to throw at next. And like really, like it's not a straight game. Like I think when you see trailers of it, it can seem very much like, oh, I'm the Witcher and I'm here to kill the beast and blah, blah, blah. But no, it's like weird, and there's like eccentric characters and like funny moments, and you're walking through the street, and then like someone like will just kind of run up to you, and it will start like this quest that will go in all these weird places. Like I really did enjoy Witcher 3. So I've put that at 10. It Take Two is left at 11, and then Bioshock at 12.
Yep. I think that seems fair enough. I mean, I would put Bioshock like 16, 17.
But you're okay with it at 12.
I'm okay with it at 12. And also, I think, because I know you always get your way, you can have one good From Software game up there. You can have one, because there's two there.
I'll just do that quick then. All right. Okay. Then what's your choice for next move then?
You can have it up there, not at number one.
No, up there. Right up there.
Yeah. I think maybe the thing is with Sekiro and The Witcher is I've played both of them for like the same amount of time, so I have no opinion on which one should be above the other. Resident Evil 4.
I've played both to completion, and I would put Sekiro above. I mean, I'd put Sekiro above Walking Dead and God of War, but that's where I'd stop it. I wouldn't want it higher than that.
Okay.
Am I allowed that?
Yep.
Is that?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, then we can stop there.
Okay.
You really do
take like the teacher role in these, and I'm like the unruly student.
Well, I think up to this point we're actually doing quite well. Like this video might not take as long as we thought, but I think I love Resident Evil 4 more than you love Elden Ring.
I don't think that you like anything in life as much as I like Elden Ring.
I love Resident Evil 4 so much that I own it on every console, and I still had so much love for it that I went and I bought the limited edition PS2 copy that I can't even play. If you show me your physical copy,
did you plant that behind you?
It's always been there. It's always been there. If you show me your physical copy of Elden Ring, then we can talk.
It didn't. If it was on PS2 generation, I'm sure I would have all of the figurines.
I literally was like, I cannot live without owning this on disc, so I had to get it. I had to get it.
So one of them is downstairs still because I've been reading it as I do every night. But here are my Elden Ring official art book.
Okay, very nice, very nice.
That I got, and then this is an unofficial, not sponsored, Soul Arts book, which is all like artwork for like kind of like fan art and stuff about all the games. And there's a bunch of like Elden Ring stuff in there from before it came out, speculation. And I have another one of these downstairs on my coffee table.
I didn't actually know you had that art book. I knew about the Souls art one, but I didn't know you had that Elden Ring one.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. And this one I've already gone through all of, and then the other one I have not yet. And that's basically, there's not much merch out. So I've basically got all of the good stuff you can do. So if you're going to take that fight.
I mean, I've got Capcom art books and an unofficial one, but I don't have Resident Evil.
I mean, we're not going to decide this by who's got
it should
the
be decided by the fact that I had to buy the game because my life felt incomplete without owning it physically, which is mental because I hate owning things. So I was like, I had to get this.
If you remember back to when we were doing the Game of the Year for when I got to talk about Elden Ring last year, like I talked about how Elden Ring like completely changed my perspective on what a game could be, and basically just reinvigorated me about just video games in general, because it just got me excited for like the future of what games could be, because it seemed so transformative to everything else that I had played. And not only just Elden Ring, but then it opened the door to an entire new genre. Like, don't forget, I was not a From Software fan in 2021.
Yeah.
Like, this is a recent development. I played Elden Ring, and it made me not scared to play the other games, which I have now fallen in love with, like all of them, and have now become like obsessive and annoying about them because Elden Ring was that doorway, and it just I almost can't even fathom that it was created, and how much I love the design. It's so what I want in like the design of a game, like in terms of like grand concept, but then all of the details, all of like the music, the artwork, all of like the specific like stuff as well, that is also such like a high quality as well. Like I couldn't paper design a game that I would enjoy more than what Elden Ring is.
I mean, that is a very impassioned speech, and I don't want to take that away from you. But if you just replace yourself in that speech with the entire game industry, then you're talking about Resident Evil 4, basically.
I mean, or Elden Ring. I mean, that kind of happened with Elden Ring as well, right?
How many Elden Ring clones are there? None? 0?
It came out last year.
Resident Evil 4 has been re-released 18 years, like as a remake, and it's not changed that much, and it's still amazing. Like, in 18 years' time, no one's going to be talking about Elden Ring. It's going to be gone.
But, like, there are loads of Resident Evil 4 clones because it's something that you can clone. Like, I don't think many people could, like...
That's a good point.
There's not many game studios that have the capacity or the ability to clone it, because you can't brute force it, because it's like, oh, yeah, you just need to have loads of amazing content that the player might miss. That's I'll never see. Like no other development studio is like taking that risk.
I think gaming wouldn't be as popular as it is today without Resident Evil 4.
I agree.
I genuinely believe
to be clear, that's why all of my arguments haven't been, I'm not trying to push Resident Evil down, because I do really enjoy it. That was a fun game. The aiming and shooting was really good.
A fun game.
It was a really good game, but there are aspects of it that have aged, I think. I think overall it's really good. Like I played it like last year, I think, and it is still really fun. But there are some aspects that are a bit clunky, and there's some areas that are more fun than others. Like when I think of the game, I always think of the village and going through that section. I don't think of like the hedge maze and the dogs. You know,
the hedge maze is a bit of a lull, but it's like if the rest of the game is a 10, the hedge maze is like a 9. It's not that much of a... It's also really quick. In your head, the hedge maze is probably like 40 minutes. It's more like 6.
Yeah, but Elden Ring's an 11.
How are we going to settle this? Because we're never going to agree on this.
Oh, I thought I might have buckled you with my impassioned speech.
No, it was impassioned, but the thing is, at the end of the day, unless we're having this conversation in 2040 about Elden Ring still, I don't think it can compete. And we never know. We can't do that, so... Because
Okay,
Resident
think
Evil,
the only...
I still think people talk about it today, still look at it today and be like, this is an amazing game. And even though it's had a really good remake, some people are still like, the first one's better. So.
But it doesn't matter. Like, the whole industry could have hated Resident Evil 4. If we liked it, it could still be number one. Like, we are picking our list of our personal favorites, not what is the most influential, what does the industry decide?
True,
because
true.
That's what the lists are already with these games of the years.
True.
Like, the only value we can add is giving our perspective. So its influence or how good it is or how many, copies it sold, like, that doesn't matter really. It's
okay, how about this?
How much did we
Do you remember when I asked you
it?
if they added a Pepsi DLC to Elden Ring, and you said you wouldn't play it? If they added that to Resident Evil 4, I'd play it. I'd play the Pepsi
because I
DLC.
think it would ruin Elden. Like, because Resident Evil's so like campy anyway, it wouldn't even affect it. It wouldn't change the
also
tone.
Known as
it would
fun.
be fine.
Yeah.
I think the way to do this is one of us will obviously have to relent for number one, but then I think they should get a lot of bargaining power for like 3, 4, 5. Okay. I think that's going to be the way, because obviously number one is the big one. That's the thing people will remember. What was, our pick overall? But I think that
I think 3, 4, and 5 though we're in agreement there.
I would put Overwatch and Last of Us Part 2 above the others. Are you happy with Breath of the Wild at 3 then?
Yeah, that was a pretty great time that I had with that. So that can stay there. I'm aware that I'm sharing this list with someone else and I need to be mindful of their opinions. So
as am I, Ollie. as have I been this whole way through. So don't you... Yes, I mean, because Sekiro I wouldn't move up anyway. And it's like, I would have Uncharted 2 a little bit lower, but not that much lower to be like, oh, well, I'll relent on Elden Ring.
Do you know what? As well, everyone watching is going to be like, Elden Ring should obviously be number one.
I think a lot of people would be like that, but just to be clear, it's impossible for you to like think we're wrong in this, because remember, this is just our opinions. I do feel there'll be a lot of Bethesda and Rockstar people that have just checked out within the first 5 minutes of this video. Yeah. We apologize. We appreciate how impressive those games are, but hey, some people like potatoes, some people like good food. So
yeah, in GTA 5, Joe, the flip flop lifts up. Have you seen that video? I always see it reposted. Like when people walk in GTA 5, their flip flops are like separate to their feet.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, I always see that video. Like, it's so impressive.
Although one of the things between GTA 4 and GTA 5, because GTA 4 was the first time they went to their new engine, or at least all of the new tech surrounding it. But GTA 5, they actually toned a bunch of it down. So there's actually a lot more kind of impressive like physics simulations on a wider scale in 4 than 5, because I think they wanted 5 was just more ambitious in general and had a greater scale and looked better. So there's a lot of like really like mean-spirited comparison. So look how much of a downgrade it is, kind of ignoring the bigger picture and what the fact that most people didn't even realize doesn't really matter that much. But like, sounds really bad, but say if like you drive into like someone and the way they kind of like slowly, the way they kind of like fall but won't fall over but will like stumble and stuff, like a lot of that stuff looked better in 4. But yeah, this is kind of irrelevant to but interesting. At the moment we got a nice altering. It's like Elden Ring, my game, Resident Evil 4, you, Breath of the Wild's more me, Uncharted's you, Overwatch, it's kind of meet in the middle, I guess. Yeah. So and then I guess Last of Us Part. Well, I mean, because we're working out that's the area we're working out, isn't it? We're pretty locked in for the rest. Yeah. So that kind of might make it a little bit fair, that because I would want Breath of the Wild obviously way above Resident Evil 4. Like Resident Evil 4 is not on my personal list at all. Breath of the Wild is number 2. Yeah. So I feel like maybe this is almost a little bit of a fair compromise as it is. The fact that I won't fight for Breath of the Wild to go above Resident Evil.
Right, but Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring are both on your list, aren't they?
For my top 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not really represented because I don't really play mainstream games that often. So
I know, but we're arranging the cards we've been given, so you can't.
But maybe in the top 5, it's worth it more. It's worth more for me if my game's at the top because I'm number 1 and you're number 2 and 3. So it kind of adds up.
But then you have number 4.
I can give up number 4. if Resident Evil 4 is at the top, it will be the greatest victory I've ever had on this channel. So
maybe that could be my Christmas present for you, is relenting on this.
You let me have Resident Evil 4 at the top.
If it was literally any other game than Elden Ring, I would just be like,
I'm the same. If it was literally any other game, I mean, to be fair, I know I may be giving myself rope to hang myself with here. Resident Evil 4 is not at the top of my favorite games ever.
So isn't Village your number one?
And it still is, yeah. But I also love Resident Evil 4, so they're very close together. They're like, they can switch at any time. Like, they are close.
Is 4 number 2 then?
I think so, yeah. I've played the remake of Resi 4 twice, and I think next time I might go back to the original one because I don't know if I actually like it more.
I think they're pretty interchangeable. Like, I think, yeah, I don't think Resident Evil 4 remakes just like, oh yeah, that but better and prettier. I think they diverge enough. You could go back for either. Like, I would put the remake probably a bit higher, I think, personally.
Yeah, they're not messing around with the inventory is quite good in the remake. Like, the fact that you can attack down and stuff and it's not faff like it is in the original.
Yeah.
But apart from that, they're pretty interchangeable, I think. And the fact that it's interchangeable with a game that came out this year, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, as I said, I don't want to push down on Resident Evil 4. Like, I think I think we've
been talking about this top section for 20 minutes. Like, we've literally been talking about half the video.
This is the important bit. Like, if these two games were in another list down at the bottom, we wouldn't care so much. But this is for number one. What does the bonus points think is the best game of the year game from the last 20 years? But I think
you think the best game of the year game of the last 20 years is a game that came out last year.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, what do you think the fastest car is going to be? The one that came out last year or the one that came out 20 years ago? It's like technology's improving. You know, they've learned the mistakes from every. It's like the Apple events. Like, this is our fastest iPhone ever. And it's like,
true,
well, it better be. Like,
yeah, true. Although I suppose Elden Ring's probably using the lessons it learned from Resident Evil 4.
Yes, I think that's what they sat down. They play Resident Evil 4, and they're like, "How?"
Well, I honestly feel like God of War did. That God of War really reminded me of Resident Evil 4.
It's kind of got the same camera perspective.
And also the same you're throwing your axe. It's kind of like shooting your gun, right? And you kind of do it to do puzzles and do different things, not just fighting. And it kind of reminded me of that.
I wonder if though it's been too long now that I feel it's like, you know, when Doom first came out and it was like every first person shooter is a Doom clone.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was like, no, they're just first person shooters.
Yeah.
Like, has enough time passed with Resident Evil 4 that now when a game has third person aiming, it doesn't have to be.
I feel like it has so much more than that though. It has the whole shop thing and upgrading your guns and all that stuff that it was kind of revolutionary doing it at that time. And now loads of games do it. But back then, buying attachments for your gun, it was like, this is mental. What are we doing? But
I get it for its time, but we're not doing it for that. We're doing it for now. And you think of the amount of
if we're not considering the time, then why are we even doing this? It should just be done in order of date then.
What? No, because that's not right. Because we wouldn't put Dragon Age Inquisition over The Walking Dead, regardless of date, you know?
Okay, I suppose down there it gets a bit more muddy, but at the top it should just be Elden Ring. And then what's the one before that? What's 2021?
It Takes Two.
It Takes Two.
But we don't want that.
No,
that's not what we want.
Right. Okay, you're right. That didn't work.
It's not objective. Every year there's
right.
a better game that comes out. But I think on a whole, I think on the most part, games are generally improving because, you know, technology is improving, so artists are less constrained and they're learning, you know, from the past games, and as individuals getting more experience. You know, we're now getting to the point where most game developers grew up playing video games, which for the early games that wasn't true because video games didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that does make sense. But you think of you're talking about the upgrade system and stuff of Resident Evil, the amount of items and weapons and shields and builds and magic spells and stuff, and the fact that they managed to balance it so you know, and you see the little outlines of other players,
Yeah.
And like you would expect with a game, it's like, oh yeah, there's the meta or whatever. Everyone's got the same armor and the same build, but everyone's just like sword, looks mad with all like crazy things and stuff. And the fact that they managed to pull that off and make that work, so you can just have like almost a completely different experience in terms of what you're doing in your moment to moment throughout the game. Like I think that's like kind of like a big leap above what Resident Evil 4 was doing, where it's like, do you want to level up your pistol or your shotgun?
Well, it was doing like a thing with making your own build, but it was doing it almost 20 years before. So obviously it is going to be a lot more narrow. But it does have that thing where like a lot of people think that the new gun you get is always better, but that's not always the case. If you've leveled one up, it's not always worth jumping over to the next one straight away or whatever.
Yeah, but that can sometimes be a bit tough if you like don't have a guide or a mate letting you know. Like sometimes it can almost be a bit stressful to be like, is it worth me like upgrading this pistol, or am I going to get something else down the line that I should have been upgrading? That's the same as Elden Ring. I don't think it is.
Of course it is. I couldn't even play it without you telling me what to do.
No, but I mean, obviously, like it's less of a game for you. Like that I think that is a complaint you can point to previous From Software games at. Like, I mean, Demon Souls is awful because it's super rare to get some of the upgrade material, and it's like a low percentage drop from certain enemies. Elden Ring doesn't. It throws smithing stones at you. Like, you remember your experience, how many smithing stones you were getting, and then you also get the ability to just buy all of them in the shop. So I could load it up and pick up a new sword that I've never used, and I could upgrade it to like max level, like straight away, and like then I could go to the person to respec all of my stats and be like, you know what, I'm going to do a magic build. I'm going to change out my armor, which I don't need to upgrade. I'm going to pick up a new weapon. And, you know, within like 20 minutes, I'm playing a completely different build within the same playthrough. Like that's what Elden Ring brought to the table that previous From Software games didn't give you that freedom to that
extent. It has a bit more
that's one of the things they fixed.
A bit easier more accessible.
Yeah, and there's like two types of smithing stones. It's like smithing stones or somber smithing stones compared to the previous games where it was all, you know, very, very complicated. So like it gives you that freedom to experiment, like pretty much stress-free.
Yeah. Okay, well, if we can't factor in the fact that Resident Evil came out 18 years ago, then I can concede because I have nothing more. Like the cultural moment that we had with Elden Ring, we had with Resident Evil 4, but gaming wasn't big back then. It was still a cultural moment though, because it was just that good. So it kind of managed to do what Elden Ring did 18 years ago on like devices that weren't connected to the internet. Weren't that popular. It did it on the GameCube. So it's kind of mad that it did that. But if that's not worth anything and you think the best game of the last 20 years came out last year, so I think we shouldn't even bother doing this, then that's fine.
You make that sound like as if that's like would be a surprising thing. It would be more surprising if the best game of the last 20 years, you know, did come out 15 years ago. No, surely that would be more surprising, like, right?
No, because like every game that came out longer than 5 years ago, well, not every game, but a lot of the games have to stand the test of time. And Elden Ring doesn't have to because it's new. Whereas Resident Evil 4 does all those things and it stands the test of time. It's a bit finicky in places, but it's a battle that Elden Ring doesn't even need to have. So the fact that it can do that and still sit at second is pretty amazing.
But do you feel like it's got to a point in games now where passing the test of time isn't really going to be such a factor anymore? Like, do you think that we've got to a level where games have a certain level of playability and understanding of just what is good design and easing the player in and like what good controls are in first person or whatever? Do you think apart from obviously they're going to age graphically, but apart from that, I feel like games aging is much more of a thing of like early 3D mostly, or like the transition from arcades to home consoles. Those are the games that are going to age. I don't think if games aging is going to be such a factor for gameplay anymore.
The big thing going forward is going to be servers getting turned off. So in 18 years, Elden Ring servers might not exist. So seeing other players running around with their weapons that you don't have is not going to happen. You wouldn't be able to summon. Those sorts of things will affect newer games, but obviously Resident Evil 4 doesn't have anything like that, so it's still fine. But that is what's going to happen. But we're talking about 2023, we're not talking about 2040, so I guess for that, it doesn't matter.
No, I think it's a very valid point, is that we know Resident Evil 4 is going to age great. we don't know whether Elden Ring is. So like, I think that's a fair, like that is a benefit for Resident Evil 4. Like that has been proven. But I did kind of remind me of another good thing for Elden Ring is that it's a full game, no microtransactions. Like you can play the whole game. Like if I played the game offline, all I would, I wouldn't see the funny messages. That's the only way it would have affected my playthrough.
You wouldn't be able to summon either, to be fair.
Yeah, but I didn't do that anyway. Like I know
but you did
some
join my game quite a few times.
I did, yeah.
So we wouldn't have
that. But I'm saying like it's not reliant on that. Like you could have a disc of Elden Ring, put it in an offline console, and you could have like 99% of the time, unless you're someone who gets into PvP and stuff.
Yeah, there's no like online only dungeons so you're not going to miss anything.
Yeah.
Obviously the DLC, we're yet to see what that's going to be, but yeah. But are you okay with Elden Ring being number one then? Well, I have to be because what else are we going to do? Just keep talking about this for an hour.
So I mean, what about okay? Because I don't want to be the villain. So let's say if it was Resident Evil.
You're not the villain. Everyone thinks Elden Ring should be number one. You're not the villain. I'm the villain.
I know. But we're the only two people that matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I want to make sure you think that I have been listening to your arguments and trying to be fair here. So if it was Resident Evil 4 first, then I would almost get free reign down here. So let me just see what I would do. So I'd do Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild, then probably Last of Us, Overwatch, Sekiro, Uncharted. So I'm assuming you would be okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, Sekiro and Uncharted I'd probably have round the other way just because I haven't really played Sekiro and I love Uncharted. But apart from that...
You would like Uncharted more than Sekiro, I have no doubt about that. Knowing after seeing you play most of Bloodborne, but this would be the golden coin you would have to spend to get Resident Evil 4 to the top.
All I'm going to say about Resident Evil 4, I'm going to say it again because I feel like it got through your exterior and I saw your little brain activating, is that Elden Ring and Resident Evil 4 are both 10 out of 10s. They're both incredible games. They're the highest rated games ever made. Resident Evil 4 has stood the test of time and Elden Ring has not had to do that yet. So therefore, Resident Evil can only be a little bit more up than Elden Ring. So that's all I'm saying. You can have the rest of your list if Resident Evil 4 gets to be at the top.
Did you have the same experience playing like Resident Evil 4 as to like what I described for Elden Ring?
I mean, I don't remember. I remember the first time I played Resident Evil 4 and I'd never seen anything like it. And I thought that I'd never really played a GameCube, and I thought the GameCube was like a super console because I was like, how is this even running? Like, how is this even work? How can something be so realistic? Which obviously it doesn't look anymore. And so
it doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't look bad. And so easy.
I
found it so easy to play, even though at the time it was brand new. Like aiming and shooting was like, oh, this is easy, and this is great. And like, shooting axes down out of the air or shooting things that are up in the sky was like easy to do compared to pretty much every game before it, where shooting was always quite difficult on a console. So I actually remember I played it at my girlfriend at the time's house, and I was 14. And I remember like literally like not speaking to her for like 5 hours because she got this game before I did.
Just to clarify, this is ex-girlfriend, right, Ollie? I'm just trying to. I'm doing the case board. I'm in my mind place working out.
But literally going to her house and just being like, so I got the Resident Evil, and I wasn't even a Resident Evil fan. Like I didn't love Resident Evil before 4, and I played that, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And I was like, she was like, oh, that game's kind of boring. You used to do the same thing, and I was like, are you mental? Like this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this. And then that was before I even really understood or got into buying and selling, which to me is also a big part of it. It's like finding treasures and selling them. When I first played it, I didn't even bother with that. I was like, picking up spinels or whatever and being like, what are these even for? I don't care. I just want to shoot stuff. And then, finding all that stuff out as well is also amazing. And then playing for it again and being like, oh, this time I'm going to use this like weird pistol that like, obviously that's not a lot anymore compared to like Elden Ring and having hundreds of weapons. But at the time being like, I can play for it again with this like strange weapon, and like I can dress Ashley up as a knight and she's like invincible. Like it was just super cool. And it has so many unlockable things in it that I only ever got the final unlockable like last year. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, that's how I felt playing it.
And you did kind of bring up a point that you could have maybe leveled at me. That like I haven't replayed Elden Ring. I know it only came out last year, and like I will at some point. replay Elden Ring. Like
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that. But I know it will never come close to my first experience, because what I love, like, I love doing the bosses. I do love the combat and stuff. Like, I would enjoy, like, even kind of just doing like a boss rush. I know I would enjoy that. But what I really enjoyed is like the mystery and having no idea, and like arriving at this giant new area, or everyone always says about this moment where you go into like a little building and it's a lift going down, and it goes down and down and down, and then you're like underground and you can see the stars, and being like, what is this? Or arriving at a door that I need a key and being like, where is this key, and working it out like that. Like, I've ripped that off and I can't stick that back on. Like, that was a one and done. And it's not even a criticism at the game, because there isn't, I wouldn't want them to do procedural generation or do it, like that is what made that experience so amazing. And it's why I did such a long playthrough. I did like 160 hours, because I wanted to be like, oh, this playthrough, I'm going to do everything and work it all out. And I will probably replay it again before the DLC, but I won't be replaying it like every few years. Whereas, Resident Evil 4 is a game that I could replay every year and have fun every time. So I guess that is in its court.
I think I've probably played Resident Evil 4 for about 160 hours. So it's not as long, but I've done it so many times and done all the side content and like the 2 extra campaigns and all that other stuff. So,
but I did mine in like 3 months.
Okay.
Oh dear. So are we happy?
I'm happy.
Should we have a little...
Yeah, I'm happy. Everyone else is screaming, but I'm happy.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I'm not happy, but I'm almost happy that you're happy. So we've got Resident Evil 4, Elden Ring. Let's just make sure I'm not going to look back and regret this. Breath of the Wild, Last of Us Part 2, Overwatch, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Uncharted 4, God of War, Walking Dead,
Overwatch and Last of Us Part 2? Overwatch and Last of Us Part 2? Maybe we could... You've made friends for Overwatch.
I have, and I've played a lot. I mean, I played Overwatch a lot back in the day.
Yeah. I think it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get. I think Overwatch 2 has just tainted.
Tainted
my opinion.
I know
so much.
I will admit, getting the characters, the unlockable heroes through Game Pass, has taken the sting out a little bit, but it still stings.
This wasn't intended, but I'm wearing an Overwatch League t-shirt right now. Yeah, maybe it should go that way. So then, so that goes down to Witcher 3 for 10, and then 11 to 12. We've got It Takes Two, Bioshock, the Grand Theft Auto bunch, Red Dead Redemption, the Elder Scrolls Duo, Dragon Age Inquisition, and Madden NFL. Are we sure that's not a top 10 game?
Also, another thing just in Resident Evil's favour is it came out 1 year after San Andreas. And we were like, there's no way we'd play San Andreas. Like, there's no way. Yeah. And it looks horrendous.
That, to be fair, as a comparison. What games came out in 2003? Was that a dud year, or was that...
2003. It was the year after MGS2, I think, was 2002.
Silent Hill 3 came out that year. Beyond Good and Evil. That could have taken it. Call of Duty 1.
That was good, though.
Yeah,
on PC,
it's a bit of a... It is a bit of a dud year. I think there's every year has at least 1 or 2 good games. Tony Hawk's Underground.
Also, not to presume anything about Jeff Keighley, but maybe for the first ever one, they were like, what's the biggest selling game of the year? Let's just give it to that because we want people to watch it.
Yeah, we don't know what the voting system was. Oh, wait a minute. Prince of Persia Sands of Time came out. That should have had it. That should have had it.
Come on. I did actually play that maybe a year ago, and it wasn't as good as I remember, I will say.
Oh, I played it about maybe 6 years ago, and I had a swell time. So
yeah, I had quite a good time. There was a lot of jumping over enemies and stabbing them in the back. That was like the only thing I did.
Yeah, the combat's the weakest part, but the puzzle box platforming rooms, those are still really great. Hopefully that remake gets back on track with a new developer and they release that. Those were our personal picks for the 20 best games of the year as ordered by us. Obviously, we can't be wrong because it was our personal opinions, but feel free to let us know maybe what your top 5 would have been. It's always interesting. And if you can, a little bit of flavor to it, why, why would you rate them as you did?
And if this is your first bonus points video and you're wondering if you should watch any of our podcast episodes, I'd say whatever you think of this list is probably what you'll think of our stuff as a whole, because we've managed to angle it, obviously, because we picked it between us. So
Absolutely. This is a good introduction to what you can you can expect in these parts. All right, GG Ollie, I think I say congratulations to you. You won. Resident Evil 4 is in our combined list. And the other thing, you didn't even pick on this. I kept thinking of arguments you could have been making, but you didn't, is I like Resident Evil 4 way more than you like Elden Ring. So like Resident Evil 4 is much closer to meeting in the middle. Like you didn't finish Elden Ring. I love Resident Evil 4. So like it is a better representation of both of us. I didn't want to bring that up earlier because I was still fighting, but that's what you should have said.
Well, I thought, do you know what? I did have that cross my mind, but I thought you'd just be like, no, I don't. That way, like,
you know, I'm not. I'm always honest. I'm not. I'm always trying to work out what is the best representation of like what we both think. But I can't see how much you love Resident Evil 4, but I can feel it with every beat of my heart how much I love Elden Ring. So like, I genuinely think, like, and I may be wrong, I think the amount that I love and obsess about that game and the amount of lore videos and ranking of bosses and stuff, like the way I obsess with that game and think it's so incredible. Like, I just can't imagine anyone else liking anything as much as I like Elden Ring.
Mate, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm generally going to be like, just as I'm crossing over to the other side, I'm genuinely going to be like, oh, at least I got to play Resident Evil 4. Like, I genuinely think that. I'm going to say that.
One last playthrough with the last of my strength. It's like, do you want to kiss your daughter goodbye, or do you want to have one last playthrough of Resident Evil 4?
Get out of the TV.
And your ex-girlfriend from when you were just 14's come to say goodbye. No, I'm playing Resident Evil 4. GameCube.
What are you doing here?
Show the upgrade system and the guns.
Come on. Don't throw me under the bus now. Is this, by the way, is this how you feel all the time? Because you always get your own way. I'm like elated. Is this why you're always so happy?
I feel like this is a fine one. I think the fact that I got Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild as 2 and 3, and they are my 1 and 2. I think if I didn't have Breath of the Wild up there, and I know you obviously like that as well, and would want it high, like it, I would be getting a bit more salty about it. But I don't feel too hard done by.
Okay, good. I'm glad you look like you are hard done by.
I feel hard done by, but I mean, I did concede, and I do want to go away and have dinner at some point tonight. So I will concede, and I will give you Resident Evil 4.
Ground you down.
Don't get used to it. Don't get in the new year. I'll be reinvigorated and I'll be as stubborn as ever.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution was to be better at debating. Starting today. First, I'm doing it a month early.
Oh, dear. So yeah, GG Ollie. Hopefully you all enjoyed this discussion. We will be back doing our personal picks, our top 10 for this year. So we'll go do a video where we would probably end up doing it in 2 videos, what we often do, where we'll end up talking through our favorite games that came out within this year, which is normally interesting because there's lots of obscure picks and stuff, but this year has been such a banger year for video game releases. Yeah. This might as well be like a list of Game of the Year games of how many amazing games came out this year. So that'll be a fun one coming up soon. And then I'm not entirely sure what the scheduling is going to be, but as you're watching this, the Christmas quiz is probably not out yet, but it will be out very, very soon. Yeah. So you can watch that. It has already been recorded. We know who wins. Maybe judged by our faces. Can you read anything in? Are we doing a good poker face? You will not. Ollie is a blank canvas. So yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up on the bonus points. And then in the new year, we'll be back with the podcast with back-to-back Baldur's Gate 3 and then Outer Wild. So don't go anywhere. But that's the end of this episode here. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.